Thank you, Leslie, and good morning, everyone. And I'm delighted to be here. I'm just going to hopefully go forward. What I do is not unique. It's fairly rare that you find a sustainable development professional who has taken on the economic side, has come from the environment side as such and gone into the economic development side. And so the purpose of this morning, what I wanted to do is reflect back on what I learnt and what happened in Johannesburg. I was only doing my MSc in Sustainable Development at the last, at the Rio Summit originally, so it was part of an awful lot of what I developed and used in my professional career going forward. So I just want to reflect on what happened in terms of the outcomes from Johannesburg 8 years ago, and also just to provide a few thoughts to stimulate what is the green economy. That's obviously the theme for this morning and this afternoon, is what is a green economy, and I want to use that for what does that mean for Scotland. Clearly you're all from very different backgrounds, and my background is clearly local government, but that doesn't mean that we can't all reflect to each other about how we actually make this happen, because not one person is ever going to manage to drive the green economy. Right, I had a slide which had a picture of a man saying, with a stamp on his forehead from Johannesburg. I didn't use it, I probably should have, since Leslie used it for one of hers. No more shameful summits. And that was generally what happened at the end of Johannesburg. There was a feeling that everyone had been let down. Now, there was 35,000 official delegates, that's government delegates, really, who were negotiating and discussing. There were 58 heads of state who turned up, and there was 40,000 civil society people turned up. And their role really was to try and campaign to the 37,000 people that were representing their countries what they actually wanted. And the outcome, of course, was generally a disappointment that far more could have been achieved at Johannesburg. It's worth probably remembering this was just before the invasion of Iraq, and that actually dominated discussions quite a lot. There was and so Leslie's made the point about arms and things like that. That was part of actually a feeling that was going through, is that the world was going to be overtaken by another war, which clearly for some of us it's become quite a dominant part of our lifestyles to know that that's part of our everyday news items. So that was the background about what was happening. There was 4 main events that really happened in Johannesburg. There was the main event, which was where all the negotiations were happening. There was a civil society event and a forum for that. There was a local government forum where they were discussing Local Agenda 21, and I'll come on to that in a minute. And there was a Business Action for Sustainable Development forum. And a lot of the more side events probably produced a lot more commitments. Now, whether they've actually happened or not is probably something that's worth reflecting upon. But let's think about some of the positive things that have happened since we probably discussed the ideas in since 1992 and through to 2002 and onwards. Corporate social responsibility has sort of come out of the closet, hasn't it? It's not just something that you stick in your annual statement from a company. It now has a much more mainstream activity among most companies and across a lot of the public sector as well. It's not necessarily that it's there yet, but it has happened. The low carbon economy, clearly given that I work in renewables, I spend quite a lot of time talking about low carbon economy. It's now become, again, a mainstream discussion point among business people and among quite a lot of politicians. They talk about the low carbon economy. How can we achieve it? Where are we going? So that's one of the big areas of change. Particularly for those of us here in Europe, the legislation on the environmental side, in terms of waste, energy, transport, there's quite a lot of change has happened. A lot of us will say it's not fast enough, but it has happened. Procurement, more accounting has gone on for what well-being has come out. So the best value regime in Scotland, for example, those sort of things have happened also in that time.